What's up, y'all? This is Covenant and Culture, episode 2, with your guy, Culture Guy 37. Before we get started, just want to pray for anyone and everyone, especially the family, kids, mom and dad. If you're going through anything really difficult right now, if you're going through any trials or hardships or tribulations in your life, um, I really hope that you know that God has a plan for everybody's life and that it will work out in the end. Just try your best to hang in there. And just many sympathies to anyone that's going through, anything wrong with the marriage or financial hardships or, your path to God is, some people think that it's easy, right? It's like walking on water, but, um, everybody's path to God is one out of humility. So you just have to humble yourself and do the work and have spiritual refinement and do better. But, yeah, just if you could pray when you have time to pray, or just you need to go seek out therapy or counseling, whatever help you need. Um, I just really hope that that's available for you and you can do that. Um, with that being said, just always want to reiterate um, the premise of the podcast is Galatians 6:10. Pretty much just meeting people where they're at, going whether it's cross cultural ministry or going across the world or going across the block, just meeting people where they at, despite our differences and anything that we may agree on, obviously we can agree on things as as much as we can, It's definitely a gift from God, The creator is a rational higher being, an intelligent being, grafted us by intelligent design. So because of that, we're able to engage in intellectual conversations and have a mutual respectful dialogue, you know, even if we disagree on certain things. Um, but just really getting into this podcast thing, said this was second episode, so just, getting started, just trying to figure things out. But just really studying and looking more into politics and pop culture through a Christian lens, because I really think that, when you apply some type of religious framework or at least some type of social framework to what you're looking at, just that framework, it really provides structure and order in your life and especially how you go with your day-to-day activities. Um, and just some interesting things I've seen it's really a huge call to action, in the religious community, between Christians and Jews in Israel. That's just something, uh, I found really interesting when we start the political spill. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, he's the Prime Minister of Israel. Something I saw that was really cool. About 2, 3 weeks ago, he had it's like this big conference, this big meeting he had. Was a it's like a Christian. It was like a meeting, almost like a big religious synod, almost. But it was between 1,000 pastors, and 1,000 influencers, um, just to meet together. Definitely bridge the gap between like call whether it's secular media or social media, and working with active members of the church, and of course, obviously, a bunch of Christian influencers and people that's pro-Israel, people that's just trying to spread peace and love, and just try to be mediators in the middle, and just try to figure out, what's going on and what can we do to help those in need. Um, I just think even more so, like that's just an even bigger call to action. The Christians going to reach out to Israel and try to help them, and protect them as best as we can. We even see in Psalms, there's a call to action there and protecting each other and working together, and blessing the nation of Israel, blessing Jerusalem, because it's God's people, it's God's nation. Um, and I think obviously, it's not just no political campaign or no political movement. It's the forever fulfilling God's covenant, because precedes generations after Abraham and Jacob. So it's just I think it's fulfilling the long-term covenant, that God made with His people. Um, but that is the religious conference is a beautiful thing. Because it's people from two different sides. I know that definitely like in social media, like YouTube, Instagram, different platforms, a lot of people, there's obviously like faith-based content creators, right? Then there's people that, they're not as openly active or engaged with the whole um I'm not religious type of thing or I'm spiritual. So it's definitely a really beautiful thing to see people use their platforms. Kind of like how Charlie Kirk did, Reverend Dr. Vody Balcom, rest in peace, both of them. See different Christians use their platform not just for politics, but to also spread the word of God. Um, then it's also something else Prime Minister Netanyahu did. Others know the signing of the Abraham Accords. Just try and create different spaces so people from different minority groups can come together, whether it's in Israel or form like allianceships to work together, contrary to like political paths or historical pasts. Something I just think is always, like I said, my thing is, always the perspective guy. Just try to look at things from different avenues and like, what is the narrative and what is the media saying about multiple different things, because it's like, obviously, Black American. Even when people talk about America, it's just like focus so much on like the bad, the politics. What is the political scale? What is the status quo? The no stuff in the White House. What is this person doing? What is that person doing? And it's just like, you know, so many beautiful things people are doing. Carl was calling him the little guy, right? Little guys, I refer to as like people that's behind the scenes that, you know, um, they do the work. They committed to creating safe spaces and, bringing things to the table on a board to help, create some type of peace in the community. Whether you're going through some type of like global war, international, conflict, whether it's based on religion or, securing the Holy Land. I just really think that that religious peace conference in Israel that the Prime Minister set up, it was a huge stepping stone, um, and definitely bridging the gap and trying to further create alliance, even, religious alliance between America and Israel. Um, yeah, something else I saw, there's a bunch of Christian and Israel missions organizations that, um, they, of course, despite, just the Judaism, Christianity differences, they still having respectful mutual dialogues, about just whether it's about theology or sociology, parenting dynamics, creating safe spaces or set last and members of the gay community so they can have a place to be safe at, they can come. And there's a compromise in the extent, and to the extent like willing to cohabitate in the same place. And like I said previously, I understand that not everybody's gonna agree with what even leaders of countries do, or politics, or sociology, or marital structures, but um, I keep repetitively bringing that up because obviously, as an open Christian, I'm proud to be a Christian. I had never seen anything like that to that magnitude. Obviously, it's like your typical religious meetings within like churches of the same denomination. So like you have like the parent church, right? Then you have like all like the main head of the church. Um, then it's like the lesser, not lesser branches, but like the individual branches. They meet in with like local parishes or churches or whatever. And it's definitely um, not 1,000 people, even over 1,000 people. But I thought that was really cool. Um, yeah, that was a beautiful thing, man. It's almost like a kind of remind me, almost like that religious peace conference is almost similar to um Jesus going out and I just Jesus, Jesus and the prophets and the apostles going out and fulfilling what Psalm says. There's some things in Romans about it. What Galatians 6:10 says about just going out to the world, um, meeting people where they're at, talking. Even more so, I think that opportunity, that religious peace conference, that allows um for Christians to fulfill Matthew 28:18-20, where Jesus says, "Go out to the world." Make disciples of every tongue, of every nation. Obviously, that's a call to action for Christians. Yes, I understand people have, we have different beliefs in what the Bible says. No, I understand that, but that's still creating a space and the opportunity for us to just talk. Um, more about the political landscape between America and Israel, as well as the religious relationship and religious aspect. Um, there's something else too, and harping it on, like I said, creating the safe spaces and bridging the gap between different religions and just social ideologies and social frameworks. I see now just like some different, not necessarily clubs, almost like not just where we drink and party, but it's like social gatherings. Um, social gatherings and like different community events in Israel between Christians and Jews. And they're just working with different mass religious organizations, parachurch organizations, to spread the Bible, spread the word of God. And it's like I think I see I checked that. I think it seems like a child. Yeah, there's a child protection agency like fighting against child sex trafficking. So that was something really nice to know. Just obviously, um, I truly believe children of God's most obviously inherently innocent creation is just so sacred. They're just obviously we have to work together and do what we can do to protect them. And get them in a safe space. Um, and something else, like I said, all on the political part of the podcast. Something else that's I know it's been trending. I'm not going by y'all. I don't really understand entirely what it's about. The the situation with what is the lady's name? Sorry, I'm blank. Oh, yeah, Candace Owens and Erica Kirk. Well, you'll probably know. Uh, Former conservative Christian commentator, um, and activist, rights activist. Charlie Kirk was tragically shot and murdered the college campus. Um, so just know after that happened, I know like people from uh, looking at the Daily Wire and different news outlets, just trying to figure out, like what happened or like why he got killed or whatever. I don't know. Obviously, I wasn't there. Um, following this um, following this Christian message. Definitely didn't agree with uh a lot of like conservative and even liberal stuff about um just stuff about policy. I'm gonna be honest, I don't really be understanding this. That's why I guess I can't really agree or disagree. But yeah, since after he was tragically murdered, I seen just specifically on Instagram, yeah, Google former Daily Wire social political commentator Candace Owens is trying to meet up with Erica Kerr, she's a widow of Charlie Kirk, obviously. Just to talk about the situation and what was going on, and um, literally that. Um, like I said, I don't really, I ain't followed her husband as much as a lot of other conservative commentators or people trying to get in the podcast space did. But personally, of course, I just will never agree that anybody, Christian, Jew, atheist, whatever, it doesn't matter. Whether you black, white, female, male, whatever you identify as, or like, it doesn't matter. Nobody should be murdered for their views, their freedom of speech. And I will say this before I get back on track to my main point. Just like a side tangent. Obviously, it's a God-given right, freedom of speech, but it is unfortunate that when you try to speak your mind or spread the truth, whether it's about God's word, civil justice, social activism, trying to build back certain minority communities or just your own community, you get ostracized and oppressed, and it gets politicized, and things get taken out of context. Um, and it's just really unfortunate that the brother was murdered because he had different views on things. We thought Israel, about Christian alliance shit, trying to the whole Turning Point USA stuff, and they're trying to turn the next wave of college students into conservatives. And then like I'm not gonna lie, people could comment below and just give me examples like people saying that he's spreading hate about about Israel and people in minority communities. I personally haven't seen it. Like I said, I know obviously I'm not the biggest, nor was I the biggest follower of his, but no, I occasionally did tune into his podcast. You know, him going to different campuses. Sorry, y'all. I've been listening since like 7. I'm sorry, y'all. But you know, him talking about like what's that, birthrights, you know, combating like the notion of abortion, which is what the Bible says about prioritizing life. You know, gun legislation, gun rights, and talk about marriage. Um, just regardless of what he was talking about, I never once thought that, man, he deserved to be gone for saying that. I just don't think that's humane for people to think that. You know, like even I see people. I'll be honest, even like people from my community, people from like that's supposed to be religious, and they say they turn the eye to what happened. Or like, you know, I see other black people, you know, making memes about his death, or talking down upon, you know, making memes and videos and stuff. You know, I get it, you know, of course, from the perspective of being a minority, whatever, person of color, I can understand, you know, or even if you're not a person of color, you know, don't want to perpetuate the victim mentality, whether you're white, black, Asian, I mean, whatever, right? Obviously, you know, somebody says things that even if they economic or social or political facts about the community, you know, obviously, you know, you have to humble yourself and accept the truth about, you know, your community. But I don't necessarily perceive that as you're spreading hate. Like I said, people saying that about different conservative Christians, or you know, people that support Israel, or they support stuff that Trump is doing, or people that support stuff that liberals are doing. Just I don't see how, like, just because you have a voice and you're trying to spread positivity, or you know, you just inform people about stuff, people will blow that out of context and say that that's spreading hate or that's racist. I really don't like that. I really don't like people do that, man. And if it's an unfortunate, I call them unfortunate facts. Um, you know, how I'm gonna get mad at somebody else for telling the truth about me or my community and people. You know, that's just, it needs to be a assessment of the inner self and then your outer self. But um, moving back to the main point though, this part of political sphere. I I know at least what the media says. I know they both Christians. Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk. They talk about the Bible together, whatever. But I just I can kind of see where people, I can see where, Erica Curtis coming from. You know, the whole Turning Point USA thing. I'm not gonna lie. I just genuinely know, like, kind of when Charlie Kirk was alive, the objective is to turn young people, like, help, you know, get young people to become more conservative in their thinking. So I get that, but all the whole like political ramifications and stuff about, ties. Not, I don't really pay that attention because I don't really understand what that's about. But um, I just think that, regardless if you don't like somebody or not, like I said, there are even liberals that I've seen that said they disagree with a lot of Charlie Kirk's base and what he's talking about, but they don't disagree. Even, they don't believe that he deserves to get murdered for having an opinion, right? But I do just think people, like Candace Owens, or people that's trying to be investigative and find out what happened, like, just try to, like, give the spouse or family grace, with the whole situation. I know it's a couple months ago, right? But obviously, brother got murdered literally on camera, right in front of his wife, right in front of his daughters. We even see the one daughter, I don't know their names, age, whatever, but the one daughter, at least, she got so scared, she was running to embrace her daddy, but she ain't really, she was a loud boom and a bang, and she's scared, obviously, so it's like a natural inclination to cling on to your parent if you can feel safe. Next thing you know, she's trying to run to go grab her dad because she's scared, and get shot, get murdered, and it's just, that's just really, damn, that's just so sad, man. They got to grow up well with their dad, man. They had a nuclear dynamic at the time, even if you're not married. Whew, excuse me. Your dad is in your life. Your mother's in your life. They, equally yoked. It's really sad. I say all that to say, like, people keep trying to get Erica Kirk on podcasts and platforms, ask her all these questions and interrogate her. It's like, yo, this lady just lost a freaking husband, man. Literally. Husband was murdered, man. Obviously, generally speaking, every marriage is probably not, not probably, it's not. Every marriage is not going to be lollies and dandies. It's not going to be, running on the hills or whatever, lollies and giddies. But, you got to make it work. Every marriage relationship has speed bumps and tread on the tires. With that being said, in spite of all that, somebody lost someone else. A wife lost her husband. Um, Two girls, two daughters. I think the two daughters, two kids. Um, their family is incomplete. It's a missing piece of the puzzle now. Um, Now just stuff on Instagram. Based on what it says, they have met in private. They've had like a mutual grounds. They're gonna meet off camera. And just have a dialogue, and then bring in news sources and outlets. Just like I said, my thing is perspective, right? What can we do to learn more about something that we find interesting, or what can we learn more about that we didn't previously know? It's that type of ordeal. Um, I think that could be a positive and mutual conversation and dialogue between them. I think honestly, that's probably the best option. Is like, we meet, whether it's a secure location or, wherever they choose to meet up at. It is, obviously, like I said, it's not a twisted narrative or people taking stuff out of context. So it's okay. We could talk about these different things, and um, you know, it could be a really good dialogue. Said no, I could share things with you. You could share things with me. Obviously, it's things that she may have not known, Erica may not have known or understood. Why Kim is always so persistent, adamant about uncovering stuff. So know they were Charlie Kirk and Kim Soldiers, good friends for years. Um, you know, so your friend obviously gets murdered, and you're trying to obviously put the pieces to the puzzle together, try to figure it out. Damn, I'm not gonna lie, man. That was really sad, man. Like, I'm being honest. I'm being straight up. Like, I'm not even trying to be funny. I'm not trying to be sensitive at all. Like, I honestly thought it was AI at first. Like I said, people keep putting all these AI memes about him, being disrespectful and trying to be funny. So, like, I thought, you know, it was like somebody trying to troll. It was just really sad. It was really unfortunate that that happened. It is just so surreal, man. It was, well, yeah. It was, oh man, I lost for words for a second. It's so bad. Obviously, he lost his life, but it was like, yo, somebody got murdered because they got a difference of voice, hmm. Difference in opinion, man. That shit was just really crazy, man. That's, that's bad. Um, you know, I get it. Political space in the podcasting space. Like I said a couple minutes ago, everybody is freedom of speech. I just hope that people grow to learn and understand that just because you're a freedom of speech, while something from your heart or your innermost thoughts, it comes from a good place. It may come from a phenomenal, great place or a holy place. It's not always going to be um, reciprocated or understood in the way that you would like for it to be conveyed or understood. Like, um, it's really bad. Um, This is really bad. Like even the situation with the wars. I'm just thinking of a parallel on my point. Like just because you mean for something to come from a good place, or you mean to educate people about something, you take it out of context. It was like the typical is racist, it's derogatory, it's sexist, whatever. But people don't do their homework and look at what it is. Like even when you try to, it's really messed up because it's like obviously everybody's doing peace and love and mutual respect, but it's just like when you try to inform people about personal things, like whether it's tragedies, wars, oppression, like the stuff that's going on in Israel, right? It's interesting. It's almost like in your personal life, right? You try to inform people about tragedies that you're going through, those tragedies that have affected your life, or things that have drastically altered the course of your plan or mission and what your purpose is in life. And then when you try to tell people about it, is is somebody making you say that, or that's not what really happened. You're just trying to get support or sympathy, but it, it's really messed up what's going on in Israel. Obviously, salute obviously to our own country, the U.S. Trying to help them out in all their future endeavors and try to work together, try to fight the war that they're going through. But it's just more unfortunate what's going on in Israel because, like I said, it's like you look at the history of suffering or oppression, right? I know people are going to say, why are you bringing that up? That's old. It doesn't matter if it's old. People lives were taken or the innocent people. Armenian genocide, right? Armenia is the oldest Christian nation. It consisted of Christians and Jews, cohabitating together, living peacefully, treating each other kindly, genuinely. And then, this, um, it's just like terrorist organizations and terrorist states where they go in and pillage and kill and murder and massacre all the Christians and Jews there. And then I know I'm definitely somewhat of a little history buff, obviously way before that, literally, the time of Jesus, and, Jews being persecuted, those before him, um, the whole Roman Empire, all throughout the whole empire, it's Christians and Jews, hit with the fiscus judaicus, the heavy tax. They take so much of their income and, they have to pay it to the Roman state, which is like it's an infringement of almost like literally an infringement of personal intellectual property. No, it's not literally because it's not municipality, but you can knowledge. It's like taking the things that people work so hard for, it's just generations and generations of wealth trying to be built up and just taken. Um, even just making a mockery of Jesus, and Jesus was a Jew. He was crucified, Roman Empire was making a mockery of the Jews, calling him of the Jews, but they did it in like it was in a mockery. It was a mocking way. Um, said that even before the Holy Roman Empire, we had these what is the pagan Aryan Roman centurions, Roman the prefects, the foot soldiers, with everybody, right? They worshiping Zeus and all these guys that's from Greek mythos and folklore. I mean, not obviously, respectfully that people, even by the U.S. Constitution or wherever you read that, you do have freedom of speech. You have the right to practice whatever religion you want to practice. That's the hat that you have to wear. The ball is in your court, and shoot how you want to shoot the ball. But um, this Christians and Jews being murdered in the Holy Roman Empire because they don't want to succumb to or switch their religious beliefs. Um, to just literally having religion forced on them and they don't convert. It's not even like it would obviously not even now. Like you see Christians and Jews, have debates about the Bible. You see men and women stuff like Jubilee. Not you can see Christians and Muslims having, respectful dialogues and just talk about the different faiths, but it's like you just suffering the different people. It's like they getting wiped out because it wipe your whole people group out, wipe your whole community out, your clan, etc. Because you don't want to aspire to this religious belief or live your life by this book or that text. You fast forward to you know, Israel was hit with mass bombings even before the October 23rd bombing. Series of bombings over 6 years, 2006. It was a bunch of countrywide bombings in Israel. Um, there was obviously innocent men, women, and children being murdered, and it was by Hamas who carried out the October 23rd bombing. Um, it's just really sad. Now I know this may be quote unquote the hot take. I am aware and I do understand, from a military aspect, that whether your country gets bombed first or this country gets bombed first, when you take a counter strike or a countermeasure, unfortunately, people may die. Right now, people going to tell you, well, that logic is counterintuitive to what you're talking about. I can kind of see that, but I think there's a difference between, right, almost like with a gun or with the boys, the Duke. There's a difference between, and I think a fine line between genuine self-defense and you just being crazy. Being crazy. You're just being a dictator, a monarch. It's unfortunate that a lot of people on both sides died. So no, even more so, no children died, but um, you know, Israel and a lot of Christian nations have been oppressed by a lot of terrorist organizations throughout history. And it's just like I said, the people talk about the political landscape of Israel and America, even the church. We just talk about like, oh, they have involvement in this and that, but then it's like, why though? Like, you gotta be involved in different things so you can acquire relationships and partnerships and resources to protect the people that you govern or who you serve over, right? So they're saying that Israel, they was bombed first. They were bombed first. Now, like I said, at the same time, I don't think anyone should have to die. Um, with regards to like spreading peace or sharing a message. I mean, in that aspect, like obviously, you can't get to heaven and you can't achieve whatever you believe in. Acting like obviously if you don't die, because that's it's an ethereal spiritual place. But I don't think much of this had the innocent life just snatched and taken from them. But um, I do understand, like I said, with the military stuff and planning, unfortunately that type of stuff happens. But um, it's just man, it's really sad, man, with the casualties of war. Like I said, so many innocent people dying, and it's just like it's crazy because it's like even like this historically, man, there's different wars, different conflicts, different battles. It's like the wars end up affecting the little guys more. Obviously the innocent people, or